Good evening. Thanks so much for being here at Tech Connect. It's exciting to see so many students this evening. I'd like to introduce Dean Tom Katsouleas, Savinik, Dean of Engineering, for a welcome, and we'll get things started. Thank you.
Thank you, very kind. Welcome to Duke and to Tech Connect, to our outside visitors, and welcome students. Thanks for coming. What a great turnout, both of companies and of students. You voted with your feet. Look at standing room only. It's fantastic to see you all here. We have 68 companies represented here today. This is our largest ever. This is the second year in a row that we've actually had to go to a waiting list where we didn't have enough space to put all of the companies. And I'm just reflecting, when I came here 5 years ago, we were at about 30 companies at Tech Connect. So this is a remarkable growth and difference. And I think it's a reflection of the growth in interest in engineering, growth in the quality of Duke students. And I'm just so glad to see you all here. I want to say special thanks to our panel sponsors, Deloitte, Dewberry, ExxonMobil, Palantir, RFMD, and Stryker. We're really looking forward to you sharing your wisdom with us and with the students. And what an exciting week it's been for the school. I just need to share a little bit with you some of the things going on with my dean hat on. What a week. So yesterday, a Pratt faculty member won the Lasker Prize, which is sometimes considered the American Nobel Prize in medicine. So this was Blake Wilson, who co-invented cochlear implants. And today, U.S. News and World Report rankings came out, and Pratt continued to rise. In fact, Pratt is the fastest rising engineering school in the country among top-tier schools in the past 3 years. BME, as you may know, our flagship department, was ranked today number 2. And environmental engineering was ranked, moved into the top 20 last year, and this year is ranked number 17. And this year, for the first time, electrical engineering joined as the third department ranked in the top 20, debuting at number 18. So congratulations to all of those departments. A little bit about the school, briefly. I've been given not more than 5 minutes, so just wear the dean hat for a little while. Pratt has really become, the engineering school has really become a research powerhouse in the past 10 years, growing in research from 25 million to 80 million in research funding per year. And we're now over 2,000 students in the engineering school. And this includes about 1,200 undergrads, over 400 PhD students, and over 400 master's students. Duke engineers have a particular trademark, and in my opinion, what differentiates Duke engineers, and I hope that our visitors today will get a chance to appreciate just how special they are, is they're very bright, but they're very interested in giving back. They're broad in interests and in skills, and I think that's why so many companies are here today. Tech Connect, I just want to comment, is a distinctive asset for the school. Last year, in the senior exit survey, 90% of our seniors who were looking for a job were placed by graduation in May. And that's a record. So just to give you a perspective, the national historical average for engineering grads is about 60% to be placed at graduation. So that's truly remarkable. And it's events like this that are partly responsible for this. Another statistic, 90% of graduating seniors last year participated in either an internship or an extensive research experience as an undergraduate. So I'm thinking that it's not coincidence that those numbers are both 90%. They're definitely connected. So there's been great growth and quality at both the undergraduate and graduate level. And so I think it's a great time to recruit, and it's a great time to be a Duke engineer. So I would like to wish to all the companies here and to all the students here a wonderful and productive and stimulating evening, and happy hunting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Katsouleas. I appreciate that. Just a little housekeeping business. At the end of the panel discussion, we will ask the students to stay and let the employers who are here go ahead and exit so you can get to your networking station. And we have a lot of really exciting door prizes this year that a good number of companies have donated, so please stay for that, and we'll tell you how all that works at the end. Otherwise, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our student moderator, Cameron Kim. He is a senior in BME Math and is currently a Pratt Fellow working in Dr. Charles Garsbach lab focusing on synthetic biology, synthetic gene circuits, and regenerative medicine. After he graduates, he plans on pursuing graduate school. In addition to this, he has some other exciting activities going on. He's a member of the iGEM team and is involved in on-campus theater, is a tour guide, and the president and head referee of Duke Quidditch. So if anyone has questions about that afterwards, I'm sure he'd be more than glad to entertain those. But without further ado, Cameron, if you'll join us and we'll get the panel started. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tech Connect. Thank you for the introduction. What I want to do is make sure we have enough time for everybody to ask questions of the panelists. But first thing what I want to do is for everybody kind of hiding out there in the wings, can have you all come in, kind of sit along here along the stairwell so that we have enough room. I want to be able to answer your questions if you have them. So come on in, don't be shy. Part of networking is losing that shyness. There we go. So what I'm going to do is just give a brief introduction of our panelists today, letting you know where they're from. I'll give them just a quick moment to sort of give any more information that I've missed. Then after that, we'll basically kind of hop into questions, whatever questions you might have for the panelists. What I ask is that you focus on sort of more general questions, maybe related to an internship or job opportunities after you graduate. Any specific questions for the companies, please save those for after the panel so we can make sure we have everybody's questions answered. So I'm going to go ahead and start off right here with Ann Ryan. Ann Ryan is from Palantir. She received her Bachelor's of Science degree in Computer and Systems Engineering from RPI. And also she received her Master's in Engineering Management here at Duke, so welcome back. Right next to her is Zach Novak, who's from Stryker. He is the Associate Director for International Advanced Sourcing. He is a alum as well, so welcome back. He has his degree in biomedical engineering and holds an MBA from Indiana University and also a Master's in Finance from Indiana University. And he was also a former fullback for the Duke football team. And I'm sure you're really happy with how they're doing right now. Of course. Right next to him is Nathan Ma from Deloitte Consulting. He has been working, he started off his career as doing artificial intelligence programming for video games, but then moved on into working with more of the consulting industry. He's been there for the past 10 years. He holds a degree in computer science and engineering from UCLA and an MBA from Fuqua. So again, welcome back. Right next to him is Michael Ferrara from RFMD, which focuses more in the semiconductor industry. He holds his bachelor's degree in material science and engineering from North Carolina State University. And then next is Katie. Katie Cordero works for ExxonMobil. She also received her degree from Duke in 2009 in mechanical engineering, and also an econ degree. And she'll be glad to talk to you about that as well. And then right down at the end is Lisa Betts from Dewberry. She's a project manager. Dewberry is a civil engineering firm, and she'll be talking about that. And she also, again, has a degree from Duke. She graduated in civil engineering in 2002. So before we get started with the panel, first give a round of applause for our panelists. So let's get started. What questions do you have? I'm sure you have some questions. Don't be shy. And then I'll ask one instead. So I think a lot of the students here are interested in sort of why you are here. Why have you decided to come to Duke, and why have you picked here as a place to be looking for future interns or future employees? I guess we'll go down the line if that works. And hopefully the mics work.
I don't think.
There we go.
They work. Okay. Why are we here? So I kind of convinced the recruiting team at my company to come to Duke since I graduated from Duke, and so this is the first time we've actually participated in Tech Connect and the Career Fair, and we're just really excited because we're growing really rapidly. We have offices kind of around the world, and so I'm actually really excited to find maybe some new team members for my team, or maybe some new folks for us. And so far, I've experienced and heard great things about all the Duke students, so that's why we're here. So.
Great. I mean, frankly, you can't be the caliber student at Duke, so that's why Stryker comes back year after year. It's just we get great candidates. We've slowly filled up Kalamazoo with more and more Duke people enough to actually watch basketball games and football games. I've had to win some people over, but we're getting there. So, but it's really about the caliber student. It was just great people, great conversations.
I want to echo what Zach said. We've been coming here year after year as well, and we've been very pleased with the caliber of students that we get. And we're always growing as a company. We love to have more and more Duke students with Lloyd.
Our FMD is in Greensboro, just up the road. It's only an hour and 15 minutes. We use some of the facilities here, the Smith Lab. We have a good relationship, or starting a good relationship with those people there. And actually, maybe this says how long I've been out of school, but the people that I worked for at NC State, and also my college roommate who went on for his PhD, are here at Duke. So that's built a relationship for me and for my company here.
I'll echo what some of the other panelists have said. We want the brightest and the best, so we come to Duke. And the other thing that we really like about the way that Pratt structures their engineering curriculum is you have the flexibility to take classes not just in the engineering school, but also in Trinity and some of the other schools that Duke has. So it's a great opportunity for students to come to ExxonMobil with a wide range of experiences and knowledge.
I'll second that. What we're really looking for is engineers who also have soft skills and can communicate in a lot of different platforms, not just through math or solving problems, but we need to be able to communicate verbally, written skills, and graphically. And we found that at Duke, those soft skills, the consulting skills, shine through, and we need that when we're interacting with complex projects, multidiscipline projects, and a wide range of clients. So that's why we're targeting Duke students.
Thank you. Very wide panel here from different disciplines, so I think hopefully one of the companies, or one of the other companies here, piques your interest. So are there any questions now? Yes.
Hi, Sebastian, BME. So I've noticed that a lot of the companies that are here are big corporations and are looking at candidates from applicant pools of hundreds, maybe 1,000 applicants. What do you suggest we do to make ourselves stand out in an applicant pool that is huge?
So just to sort of kind of give that question again. So the question is about sort of what is it that you look for in the process of whether it's an internship or new employees. What is it that these students can do to sort of make their application, make their resume, their CVs, make them stand out amongst the masses? Whoever wants to start with that, or go for it.
I can start, actually. I think whenever you're looking at a company, you should definitely research the company and figure out if it's a place you would want to work. And don't just look at the company, look at the different roles and different job descriptions, because I think one of the best things you can do is tailor your resume to the job for which you are applying. So you can have a standard resume, I think that's fine, but if you really, really, really want a role, make your resume for that role specifically and send that in. If you have a well-written resume, and this is just my opinion, you do not need a cover letter, because I'm a hiring manager, so I hire for my team, and whenever I see a really well-done resume, I can tell immediately if I want to talk to a candidate or not, if they might meet our job responsibilities or not. So I totally suggest that. Secondly, if you're there for an interview, do some preparation. Research the company, research the team, have some questions ready to ask your interviewers, because I think interviewing and looking at a job is like a two-way street. The company is looking at you, but you're also auditioning the company and the people you could be working with. Do you want to spend at least 40 hours a week with these folks doing the job that, to which you're applying? So I think you have to think about that too. And even in all the interviews, like I've interviewed at a lot of places, and I haven't always gotten job offers, but that's okay, because maybe I wasn't a fit for that company, but at least you can try and do your best and sort of go from there. So that would be my advice.
Anybody else want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would jump in and say, if you just submit a resume, you're probably not going to get an interview. You need to practice your elevator speech. So when you go to the career fair, practice talking to people. Go up to a company that you're not necessarily interested in and practice with them once. Just get it out of the way. Sorry, everybody else, all the other companies here. 'Cause then you can,
You can
Stryker,
practice
right?
with me, it's okay.
But really practice, I mean, you know, you want to be able to talk about yourself, you want to be able to sell yourself, so practice it. Be able to articulate what makes you special. We pick all of our interview candidates when we come back and do interviews. It's all from the career fair. So it's all about meeting people for the first time and being able to talk through it. So if you just submit it online, you probably won't get a interview just because we don't know who you are.
Similar to that, we do a lot of the same things. We particularly look at soft skills. So events like networking, career fair, make a good first impression because a lot of our business is done on the ground with a client face-to-face. So we like to use that lens to see, is this candidate someone that we're comfortable putting in front of a client and doing a presentation? So make sure you make a good impression and definitely be prepared. Right? During the interview, ask really good questions, not generic ones. Show that you've done a lot of research in the company, you know why you want to work there, and that this is not just one of many applications that you've submitted because you're just scared of not finding a job. Right? So definitely know your story about why you want to work at Deloitte.
Yeah, I agree with all of you guys. You know, as far as the resume, targeting the resume, not just sending a generic resume, also coming to events like these and meeting people in person, and then follow-up is really important. You have to imagine that HR department for any company is receiving thousands of resumes, and so just don't assume just because they received your resume that it went to the top of the list. It may take a couple, 2, 3 times following up and showing your interest. So I'd encourage that.
I think doing the research is really important on a company. You want to make sure that the company is not only a good fit for you, but that you're also a good fit for the company. So the research is really important. And I also really encourage candidates to be really honest, really candid, and don't try to sell yourself in a way that isn't you. Just try to be you, and that's really the best way to make yourself come across in the best possible manner.
I would have 2 points on the follow-up point of it. If you can get to an actual hiring manager or whoever you made a direct connection with at an event like this, it's really important that you follow up directly with them with some sort of meaningful correspondence, whatever platform they may give you. If you're following up directly with an HR or a hiring or a recruiting person, you're not necessarily talking to the right person to make decisions and to get you out there. So if you're able to make a connection with someone who is making decisions on positions and hiring, that's who you want to follow up with. And then the second thing I would say is you have to find a way to convey like a passion for what you're doing. That's one of the things that we look for, is someone who really wants to be here on this team doing what we do because they love this type of work. So if you're able to convey that, to whoever it is that you're talking to, that's a really important thing. I mean, that comes back to the soft skills and how you communicate, who you are, what you like to do. So follow up with the right person and see if you can get your passion across to whoever it is that you're talking to.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, right there in the front.
What is the interview process? And what is a typical candidate, like a typical job profile in the company?
So the question's about the interview process, sort of what is the interview process for your company? What was the other part? I sorry, I missed that.
Like a typical job, like if you have 10 jobs every year, what are 7 of them?
So what are what are the openings, like every year there's like a cyclical sort of like...
Typical job.
Yeah. So if you want to go down the line again, or we want to start in this way?
Sure. Our interview process sort of varies from manager to manager, depending on who's hiring, where they're hiring. Typically we would do a phone interview. It's just a basic screening to see if you can answer, not technical questions. Again, it's more personality questions. What format of communication do you prefer? Written, verbal, graphical? What's a challenge that you've overcome? What's your leadership style? Some things like that, screening questions. If the phone interview goes well, we'll call people in for a personal interview. We typically try to get them in front of the manager for that team, the chief engineer, or whoever is the technical sort of lead, and then a lot of times we try and put them in front of either their project manager, who they'd be working with on a daily basis, or maybe a first year or someone, our newest member of the team, so that they can get a feel for what their day-to-day experience would be like, because we think it's important that you have a realistic picture of the job that we're offering to make sure it's a good fit for you. So we do try and do sort of a holistic interview process at Dewberry, but again, it definitely varies from manager to manager. It's not so rigid. In terms of job positions, typically we are hiring interns. We do have a robust internship program across all of our offices. And I mean, our jobs range. We have engineers, architects, some scientists, depending on the field. And most of our hires are entry level. We try and cultivate our managers from within. So you sort of move up and become a project manager and then a business unit manager. And most of our managers do have a technical background. They aren't, pure management professionals. So on any given year, job openings, would vary depending on the team, the economics, what sectors are moving or not moving.
We have a pretty similar process. We start out with campus interviews, all types of campuses across the country, and you'll meet with the campus recruiter. It's usually like a 30 or 45-minute interview, mostly behavioral, leadership type questions. And then at that point, the head recruiter takes your interests and tries to match them up with what the company needs. So that's where, again, it's important to be honest in terms of what you want and what you're looking for in the company. And at that point, you would then go out to a site or an office to have a further interview, again, sort of with a team that you'd be working on. And that's more of like a day-long process where you get to learn specifically about the team, specifically what kind of job you'd be doing. There's, more leadership, behavioral type questions, and also a technical portion if you're going into a technical role. In terms of what types of positions we recruit for on campus, we recruit both full-time and internship. Some companies do it a little bit differently. We come in the fall and recruit interns. Some companies recruit interns in the fall and the spring, some just in the spring. So if you're looking for an internship, it's important to know which companies are recruiting for interns at what time of the year. But yeah, we're just looking for really bright people, and we try to place them where their interests are matched up the best.
We're a similar process as well, and if it goes to a phone interview stage, typically there'll be perhaps 3 or 4 people on the call from our end, and we'll be making an assessment, and probably the call will last about an hour or so, and go through your experience and what you're looking for and what we're looking for. And if we like that person, then we'll schedule an interview. We'll bring that person in for a full-day interview, and usually that would require probably 8 or 9 45-minute interviews with a lunch. So it's a pretty challenging day. It's not stressful in the sense that we're going to be demanding, but of course when you're meeting new people and you're trying to learn about a new environment, it tends to be tiring. So usually, that's going to take the whole day, and then at the end of the day, there'll be an assessment of the 8 or 9 people that had met with you, and usually at that point is when we're going to make a decision whether or not this person's going to be a good fit. And by the way, the 8 or 9 people some are from within the department that you would be working in, and some are going to be in departments that you would be supporting. So we're getting an assessment from both inside and outside the department.
So we have 2 rounds of interviews. So the first round, you come in and you'll do a behavioral interview where you'll go through your resume, we'll ask you questions, like tell me about time where you experienced a team member who didn't pull their weight, how did you respond, or those type of questions, and anything else specific about your resume. We also have a case interview where we look at your analytical skills, and we'll give you a sample business problem, and then you'll work through how you would solve that and how you'd present that to a client. After that first round, you get through that, you'll have round 2, very similar. You'll have a behavioral and a case interview with different people at that point. But usually those are back-to-back, so after the first round that day, you'll find out if you've made it past to the second round, which would be the next day. In terms of the types of positions, we have full-time and internships. Full-time we hire in the fall, and internships we hire in the spring. They're entry-level positions, analyst positions, and it really depends on where you get staffed, because the way our staffing model works is you get staffed at a client, and it could be any industry, any functional area, any city. So it's hard to really say what exactly you'd be doing, but at a general level, you're helping businesses solve their business problems using technology. And that technology could be different depending on where you get assigned within the company, but at the root, that's what we do.
At Stryker, we have 3 interviews. The first 2 are really about the cultural fit to Stryker. We stress this extensively, where the 3rd interview would be on site. So we don't bring anybody on site until we know that they would fit in the culture. The way it works is you could be the smartest person in the world, but if you don't fit our culture, you will not enjoy working at Stryker. So it's just kind of a different spin. Our organization is very hard-driven, very competitive, very much like go-get-'em type attitude. So if you, like I said, you could be really, really bright, and unfortunately we see people like this. They're really, really bright, but they don't fit the culture, and then they're miserable when they get in. So we stress that pretty heavily. But all companies are different, so no matter which company you're interviewing for, it's going to be, same type. You're going to do some type of behavioral, some type of maybe technical questions, but for the most part, it's going to vary by company. So.
Each team has a different process at Palantir. It's typically you'll have maybe two phone or Skype interviews, and then you'll be invited on site, usually to our Palo Alto office. And so it's time for you to meet some of the team, get a tour of the office. I like to show off all the dogs. We are allowed to bring dogs to work, and our ball pit, which is very popular with everybody. So that's typically what happens. We do have internships, co-ops, and full-time. And then in terms of some different roles, I mean, we hire all sorts of students and folks, into development or quality engineering. I'm on support. There's business development roles. There's writing roles. There's operations roles. I think there's like over 100 job postings right now on our website. So, but that's what you could probably expect. It's like 2 initial screens. It sounds really similar, actually. Almost sound really similar, yeah. 2 initial screens, probably on the phone or Skype, then an on-site, and then that's timed, it's a full day on-site, so.
Thank you. Yep, right up there.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Yoon, and I'm a senior mechanical engineer. As an undergrad, it's kind of hard to picture, what our first year after graduation is going to look like. So my question is, how formative was your first year out of college, and are you still with the company or industry you started with? If you are, why? And if you aren't, why not?
So the question's about sort of what did you actually do after your first year? Is the company that you're with right now the same company? Did you start out somewhere else? What was that sort of process after your first year into where you are now? And let's go back. Okay. We'll go back in the reverse order.
I think your first year is really important. If you don't like what you're doing, it's going to be very apparent right away. I am with the same company that I started out with. I've been with Dewberry for 10 years. I spent 1 year elsewhere. It was not a happy year, and I came right back to Dewberry. But it had to do with the geographic switch. I started in Fairfax. We moved to Baltimore, and now I work in the Baltimore office of Dewberry. And I think the first year is really important. The reason that I came back to Dewberry is because in my first year, in my experience in the headquarters, I had a great mentor. Dewberry is a medium-sized company. It's big enough to compete with some of the big fish on some really cool projects, but it's small enough that really talented people can find other really talented people and have a great mentor sort of relationship. And I think that that's really important, and that's one of the things that I love about Dewberry. I feel like I'm surrounded by smart people who know what they're doing. If they don't know, they'll tell you, and they'll help you find resources to help you get there. We put a lot of emphasis on our first year program. We have a plan for everyone's first year. It focuses on cultural aspects, business aspects, technical aspects, and operations. It's heavily weighted towards technical and operations because we're in a design and consulting industry. We want you guys to be prepared to pursue your license, to pursue your accreditations. That's the type of work that we do. So we want you to set you up to be successful. But we never lose sight of the culture of our company and what makes us successful and what makes us, continue to grow and expand. So we do put some emphasis on that. And after all, it is a business. So we want you to understand the money side. of engineering and how we make money, how we lose money. So we do focus on that too in your first year so that you get a broad-based exposure and hopefully set the stage for a really successful career as a consulting engineer.
Yeah, I think that your first year, and really your first few years, are incredibly important. The way that we do things is everybody comes in as a blank slate, and you're sort of given an option of, do you want to stay technical or do you want to do non-technical work for the company? And they allow you to pursue various different types of jobs in your first couple of years to sort of let you figure that out for yourself. What do you like? What do you not like? So it's really important in your first year and first few years to be really honest with your supervisor in terms of what you like and what you don't like, so that they can help steer you along the career path that's best suited for you. I started with ExxonMobil. I only graduated 4 years ago, so I'm still with the company. I've had basically a career switch, though. I started in an operations business type role, and then I decided that I wanted to try to do something technical to see if I wanted to go that route. So now I'm doing a very engineering technical focused role. So it's same company, just two totally different jobs.
Well, my first position, I guess, was 4 recessions ago, in 1993. So I guess I sort of feel for some of the students coming out of school now. But back then, I went to work for a company. It was a small company, only a 50, 60-person firm. And it was a great experience because I got to do a lot of travel. And, of course, over the years, my roles changed, especially there's lots of other factors that come into play over time. You get married, you have a family, maybe you don't want to travel as much. But I've always been in the microelectronics industry, so that has been consistent, which is actually maybe surprising because when I talk to some of my the other people that I graduated with, they're not necessarily in the same industry today as they were when they started. As far as the question about what you can do in your first year or a couple of years, I also had a great mentor, Kevin Welsh. Actually, he's a Duke grad. He got his master's degree here in electrical engineering. And the one thing, he told me something after I was there a couple of months, and he said, we had a very complex system. It's a laser that scanned across the wafer surface looking for defects. And it had multiple components to it. And he told me, learn one of these aspects of this system really, really well. And there was one part of this system that nobody else really had time to really cover at this time, but it was an important piece. And he directed me to learn that piece of the system really well, as best as I could, and become an expert in that area. And then from that, I could then understand the rest of the system from that point of view. And that was one of the best pieces of advice that was ever given to me.
So I started my career right at undergrad at Deloitte. I know my bio says I did artificial intelligence programming, but that's because when I graduated, it was the dot-com bust, and Deloitte called me and said, we have no projects right now. Can you wait a year? So I needed money during that year off, so that's why I decided to make video games. But started back at Deloitte the next year. I have been there since and loved it so much that I went to business school and then came back to Deloitte. That first year for me was extremely important. I got to see, number one, consulting. I wasn't sure about it. Right? In this huge company, I thought I'd just be a number. But because you're sectioned into small teams when you're at the client, you get exposure to a lot of different opportunities. I was able to lead meetings as a first-year analyst and do lots of things that I didn't expect to do. And the way that our projects work, too, is that they can range from between 4 to 12 months. So in your first year, you could actually get 3 total projects. And the way I always viewed it was, it's 3 different jobs with a different client, different business problem. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do consulting in the first place, because I get bored very easily. And to me, the thought of getting a brand new job every 6 to 12 months was amazing. So I've been there over 10 years now, and I essentially get a new job every 6 months. And that has kept me going and kept me challenged the whole time.
I've been at Stryker since I graduated, so 9 years now. You know, your first year, you're going to drink from a fire hose because you think you learned a lot here, you're going to learn a lot on the job. There's a lot of things that you just can't teach you about business and things. I mean, I didn't know what finance was. I didn't know what a balance sheet was. I had no idea, and it comes into play in just a normal company. So Just be ready because you're going to learn a lot. But what I did was I took that time and used it to network out. So I met with folks in finance and folks in HR and folks in different parts of the business that I didn't know what HR was. I didn't know. I was in a manufacturing company too. That's something where at the time, and I don't know if Duke's really gotten there, but as far as manufacturing, it's a completely different type of engineering. So being able to learn as much as I can, well, I mean, since I've ended up in sales, I've been in marketing, I've been in operations, I've been now strategic sourcing. So I've bounced around the company because I made those networks, made those connections, and frankly, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So that's something where I would stress that it's worthwhile. I mean, I'm assuming the BMEs that are in here, half of you are probably thinking about medical school. I did when I was here too. Once I got on the engineering path and started working in an organization, I realized I didn't want to go back to school for another 6 years. So for me, I was learning plenty and I didn't need any more. But that's something where you need to kind of learn about yourself and what do you want to do. Because I did leave the technical side and now I'm purely business. Everything I do is on the business side of Stryker. So that's something I would have never guessed, but hey, that's just something you'll learn in that first year.
Palantir is not my first job. I took it right after I graduated from the MEM program. I was a part-time student, so it took me 3 years to get my MEM degree. And I thought, what the heck? All I have is a Toyota Corolla, an apartment full of stuff. I'm just going to go to California and work for this startup. No one's ever heard of it. It's only 100 people at the time. People thought I was crazy. I thought I was a little crazy. But it worked out really well. I'm still there. We're now over 1,000 people, and we have offices all over. So that's really great. And my brother actually works there too now. So yes, I did recruit him. They asked me if I knew any smart people, and I said, what about my brother? They said, cool. He interviewed, obviously. What is it? But first year, and I can't speak for other teams, but I could speak for the team I'm on. And so when you start on the product support team, you do get a mentor. It's an experienced support engineer to help you out. We also have our in-doc process. It's like sort of 3 gateways, and so you work through those. It usually takes about 3 to 6 months, and every time you complete one, you get a little pin. It's really fun. And at the end, you get like the official team shirt. It's a really cool shirt. Palantir is all about the T-shirts, and nobody else but our team has this T-shirt, so obviously it's very coveted by our team. And I think other teams do something similar, but I think it's important in that first year. I mean, yeah, I tell a lot of folks because I work with a lot of different people, and it's like, don't worry, you're going to feel kind of overwhelmed for like 6 months, but then it gets way better after that. Because you do have a ramp-up time, and I can honestly see when you start a job, you want to contribute, right? You see all your teammates doing all this great work, and you want, to also be contributing and doing really cool stuff. And so sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, but I say just keep at it. That's why you have a mentor. That's why we have a process. And just see where it goes.
Even though that free T-shirts are still a really big thing when you go after your first job, so really like that idea. Yeah, I'll go right there.
Okay. I'm Peter Ift. I'm a PhD student in biomedical engineering. I was wondering if you could speak from an engineering firm perspective on sort of differentiating bachelor's of engineering candidates versus like graduate school. Are there differences in the roles and the positions initially? Are there like more leadership or technical expectations for the PhDs, or just sort of talk about the differences?
You probably get paid more.
So the question's about that was the real answer. So the question's about sort of what happens when you walk out. If you're a bachelor's degree, your PhD, your master's, what are the differentiation? Was it levels? We obviously got the money question figured out.
Said probably.
Well, okay.
Qualified it.
So sort of what are there tiers or levels? How does that kind of work out? So I guess we'll go back it up. So Anne will go first.
Sure. So the company where I work, Palantir, we're a meritocracy. And so most people start out kind of as an individual contributor on the ground floor. And so meritocracy means the best idea wins. So no matter whether you've been here a month or a couple years, if your idea makes the most sense, we're going to go with that one, which is something I really like. So we try to keep it really flat. Did I answer the question? Was that all?
That was basically about it.
I was thinking about T-shirts. I'm sorry.
at Stryker, it does matter, but it doesn't matter. Once again, we're looking for the cultural fit, so you might be the smartest guy in the room, being a PhD. But, sorry. Sorry to call you out, I know. You love Stryker now, don't you? But it's really about the cultural fit, but we do look at all levels. I mean, we'll and it goes to internships too, so we look at freshmen all the way through. It's how you fit with the organization, and then if you're a freshman, you obviously have to be able to show some technical chops. I mean, it's not easy to be a freshman and get an internship at a company like Stryker because you're competing against people that have 3 and 4 years worth of information behind them or knowledge. But it's depending on the projects you're working on. I mean, we have some groups that are doing some super secret research stuff. Typically, a lot more PhDs in that group than bachelors. So it just depends.
So we primarily will hire bachelors and masters, and we do also hire some PhDs. It's more specialized, though, for that particular field, and the work is a little different that they would do as a PhD. So it just depends on the work experience that you would have, if at all. Right? You could have gone all the way through without having work experience, but we really look at that in addition to the degree to figure out where you're placed within the company.
Actually, before I answer that question, I wanted to go back to the other question and share something about my first job, where the first job that I got, I had sent a resume to corporate, which was up in Boston. And at the same time, I was calling the HR manager in Charlotte, where the position was. I wound up getting the interview in Charlotte, and I got a rejection letter from Boston. So at the same time, so the next day I was going for an interview, I got a letter in the mail saying I was rejected. So that's just to point out that just because you send something to one group or another group, that some groups may not be talking to each other, and so just keep that in mind to be a little bit tenacious. What was the question?
Bachelor's, PhD.
Oh, yeah. So the way I and this isn't necessarily the case every time, but when we think about our development program, we have development, and then we have pilot programs, so parts that are about to be released, and then parts that are released, and then manufacturing. So if you think about it in terms of R&D or in terms of design development, those tend to be perhaps masters and PhDs, but not always. Also, experience could come into play. But as you get into more of the process roles or the support roles, those might be masters, bachelors, but that's not a hard and fast rule.
Yeah, I would say that our PhD placements are typically more specialized as well, and they do typically go into the engineering R&D side of it. The kind of the cool thing about that, though, is because they come in with such specialized knowledge, and they really get the chance to be leaders in that field right away. So even though you may not be directly put into a leadership managerial type role, you are essentially a global leader. They get pretty sweet travel schedules. They go all over the world. In terms of bachelors and masters, that's the primary campus hiring that we do is for bachelor's and for master's degrees. They are interviewing for similar types of jobs. So you don't necessarily need a master's to come work for us. We do hire mostly bachelors. So
I would say our hiring is mostly in the bachelor's degree, at least for entry-level positions. Some masters, some PhD. Again, PhD hires would definitely be like a more specialized into one of our more like science and consulting groups into that arena, as opposed to our daily like sort of design and production staff. I would also say that the work experience is a big deal. Like if you come to the table with work experience to supplement your advanced degree, that's much more appealing for a practical hire in this field than if it's just all education based with no real, experience or practice in the area.
We have time for one more question, so I saw that hand first. Sorry, folks. They're still going to be here afterwards. They're not going to run away, so any leftover questions, please make sure you ask them over at the networking session. So I guess we'll go right here.
Hi, my name is Frank Lee, senior BME. My question references the very first question about first impressions in research. Let's just, hypothetically, let's say you weren't able to get around to researching all these 60-plus companies whether or not they would be a good fit for you, or even whether or not they're what you want, especially with the career fair tomorrow. So my question is, how would you approach a company that you're interested in, even though you don't know that much about them, and you obviously don't want to fall flat on your face and BS them, but you still want to put your best foot forward?
So the question's about, back to first impressions, let's say that you didn't research all 200 companies coming tomorrow or today for the career fair. What can somebody do to sort of basically kind of be honest and say, I'm not really sure what you do, what do you do? How can you ask that question, I suppose? Or how can you kind of approach a company like that? So I guess we'll start with Anne and go all the way out to the end there.
Okay, sure. I love this question. I think it's a great question. I think be honest, you know, and so what's really helpful, especially in an event like this, is if you introduce yourself and say, like, hi, I'm Frank. I'm a senior in biomedical engineering, and I'm looking for a full-time role when I graduate in May. And that already helps me a ton, because I know what your major is, I know what your name is, I know what kind of job you're looking for, and now I have a jumping off point. So then I can say, like, oh, that's great, Frank. We don't actually have biomedical engineering jobs specifically like your typical one at my company, but we have, you know, we do hire biomedical engineers for other roles, and then I can sort of work with you, you know, to kind of figure out what your interests are, what your skills are. If you have a resume, that's great, because that'll help me also figure out what you might be interested in doing, and then we can go from there. And I love it when people come and they're like, what exactly do you do? Because then I get to talk about it, which is really fun for me. And it's fun for you to listen, I hope. So, that would be my suggestion, is just totally be honest. And again, like when we say do research, this is your research, right? You're researching right now. You're meeting people, or you're getting to find out about people's experiences and stuff. And so this is a perfect way to do that. And as you meet all the different companies here, you'll find ones you like. You might find ones you're not so interested in. And then you can narrow it down and go from there. So that's what I would suggest, yeah. So I'll see you later.
Yeah, I mean, perfect answer.
Thank you.
I will add one thing, though. I guess not quite perfect. Just be yourself. Talk to people. Don't be afraid to walk up. I mean, it's so many times I've been at a career fair and somebody like takes 2 steps forward and then walks away, and then you see them like kind of flash by again, and you're like, just come talk to me. Like, I'm not that scary. You know, like, it's all right. But just be friendly and find out what they do. I mean, exactly what you said.
2 perfect answers. I will also try to add one thing to that. I think it really depends on the forum, right? So I think something like tonight is a perfect forum that you can say, I don't know about your company. Here's my background. Here's what I'm interested in. I would caution against, after that, especially once you get an interview, make sure you do a ton of research, right? Because if you're interviewing with me and I tell you have no idea about Deloitte, in the first 30 seconds I'll stop listening to you. And I think that shows, and I think Lisa mentioned this earlier, right, about the passion, is once you do a lot of research, it's going to shine through in the interview process. So at this point, the early stage, it's okay to not know, but definitely as you progress, make sure you know about that company.
Yeah, I agree. I would say things that we're thinking of whenever we're interviewing somebody or meeting somebody is at least I'm thinking 3 things, and you should be thinking these 3 things also. Is the person willing? Is the person showing that they have enthusiasm and willingness to do the job? Are they capable? And capable doesn't necessarily mean direct experience. It means, do you think that the person's capable? And like Zach mentioned, are they going to fit into the culture? Are they going to fit into the dynamics of the group that already exists? And these are the 3 things that I'm thinking, and I think a lot of people are thinking as they're meeting people. And if they meet all 3 of those criteria, then that's what we're looking for. And then hopefully you, in turn, because it's a 2-way street, you decide, is this for you? Is this something you're willing to be willing about and capable, and are you going to fit in?
Yeah, really great answers. I think the other thing, too, is to remind also, again, that this is you trying out companies, not just companies trying out you. So think about how to portray what you're really passionate about. That's a really great way to do a research on a company, to say, hey, this is what I did this past summer. I really loved it, or I really hated it. can you tell me what kinds of opportunities you have at your company that, match my interests or, don't match what I don't want to do. So I think that's a great way to go about it too, is really portray what you're passionate about, and that's a great way to basically interview the company at events like this.
I totally agree. If you can just have a conversation with them about something, in your field related, that will do wonders. I mean, we've spoken to a couple of people who, their resume, may not scream it, but because we personally interacted with them, they struck a chord, and they followed up in the right way, and it was what we're looking for. It was a good match. So I would say try to be confident when you approach a company. If you are researching, if you're seeking out information, don't be trepidatious, because everyone's looking for something here. Like, we're looking for a good fit. You're looking for a good fit. So just be confident. You guys have worked really hard. You're at Duke. You probably have a great portfolio. So be confident and just, share your story in the best way that you can.
I'd like to thank our panelists one more time for their great advice. I believe at this time we're going to go ahead and let the employers, the companies, we're going to send you out of the room, tell them all the secrets about your companies. We'll see you out there soon. Students, stay here.
Stay here. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out just details on what's going on.
Are you going to be part of the presentation?
I could do whatever you'd like me to do.
Okay, well, maybe we'll simplify it.
I can.
And give part to the people in the practical. Okay.
Good job, you're sitting in the right spot.
Hey, hold on. Let's take a look at that. See what we got here. All right, one more time. One more time. Here we go.
Yes. Because they got their stuff doing. It's good PR for companies too. We're all out here, right? You got a Tech Connect t-shirt. There we go. Of course. Well, you can do it outside. We'll get it outside.
All right, congratulations. All right, once again.
Play, yeah. So you have an Android phone. I don't know the computer. It could be from They don't let me have them, so I didn't memorize it.
All right, good. Yes, we got it. We got it. Now, let's go ahead and put on your best recruiting smile. There we go. There we go. Okay.
I don't have this, so will you hold on to that, and I'll try to find the Ready Force people. I didn't see them at registration, and they want to bring it to me, so just hold on to that.
Did you fill out
Fill out your name,
You got to fill out.
and if they didn't come, we'll contact you.
Because you sat in a really good position.
Yes, you've got. Oh, that's
Sure.
bag
What size
of
is
stuff.
Bag of stuff.
Yeah. All right.
I'll have to come by and ask you what's in.
Yeah, it's good.
Congratulations.
All right.
Just go over here and do it. Yeah, just AT&T, gift card, kind of. Okay. Sweatshirt. Any other backpacks back there? Backpack, umbrella, and a t-shirt. That's small.
There you go. You got it. You got it. One more time. Hold on.
And you got it.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And do it.
You ready? Congratulations.
You all for being here. I mean, obviously we have to get companies here, but then.
All right.
Is anything missing?
No, everything worked out perfectly.
Well, all the cars were found.
Well, it's as far as I know. I mean, all the good stuff. Actually, no.
If it's that same guy, yeah, there was one guy who had it, but I think he left because he has an iPhone.